For the woman who pleaded guilty to attacking a Madison Metro bus driver back in February was sentenced to 3 years in prison.
The breaking news at the scene of the bus crash on the east side of Madison. MFD tells us the bus crashed into a building off of Milwaukee Street and Dempsey Road. This is video of them actually towing the bus out of the building. This was about a half hour ago.
So on this channel, I spent a lot of time trying to explain to you guys that criminals are stupid, their motivations are stupid, they are quick to anger, lacking self-control or self-discipline, and this case is a perfect example of that. But the reason why I try to highlight these cases is because I think that procedural TV shows, true crime podcasts, and documentaries have trained people to believe the opposite, that criminals are somehow logical people who go from A to B to C, their actions make sense, they're explainable, they're actually well thought out, but in reality, that is just television writing. And of course, in the media and education side, we have a bunch of woke people that are trying to teach us that criminals are actually victims, the real cause behind their crimes are poverty, and this particular bus crash in Madison, Wisconsin should disabuse you of all of those notions, because this happened when an altercation occurred between a driver and a passenger who was upset about something. And when you hear what this passenger was upset about, which by the way, if you have your guesses, shoot your shot down in the comments below. It's gonna blow you away, because this is one of the stupidest disputes. It shows a complete and utter lack of reasoning, rational thought, and it could have led to people getting seriously injured. And even though this bus crash happened back in February in Madison, Wisconsin, this woman was recently convicted of her crimes, which is a good thing. She will spend some time in prison, which is also a good thing. However, I think she should spend significantly more time in prison, because again, this is a very basic thing that sometimes happens to a lot of people that caused this woman to snap, lose her mind, which ultimately could have killed people on the bus and people in this restaurant. So let's get into this particular story. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Yeah, Mark, that is correct. It was caused by a female passenger who became upset and had an altercation with the bus driver, ultimately causing them to lose control.
So part of the reason why I didn't spot this story back in February when it originally occurred is because the local news media seems like they're being deliberately vague when they're talking about some kind of dispute, some kind of altercation that happened between the bus driver and, of course, this random, unnamed, undescribed passenger that ultimately ended up leading to this particular bus crashing into the Asian House restaurant.
Just now, actually, I stepped aside and I was speaking with one of the delivery drivers for the restaurant, Asian House, and he was telling me, his name's Jim, telling me that, you know, he came driving here right away after his boss called him, telling him what had happened. He said that the area that the most damage is seen, he pointed out that it's a storage area, and the restaurant is actually closed on Tuesdays. So he was sharing his gratitude that luckily there was not a full restaurant. Nobody was in there as far as he knows.
Now, I don't want to attack Tabitha Bland for not having good information the night of the crash. I mean, she's out there in the Madison, Wisconsin weather in February without even a hat or a thick jacket. She's barely getting her words out throughout the course of this segment, so I kind of feel bad for her. But the local news was very dodgy even after this, even reporting on the conviction, when again, they describe an altercation, don't give you the motivation behind it, but also tell us about the sentence that this woman ultimately ended up getting, which again is crucial information, but it does not tell you the whole story. It does not inform you, but let us hear about the time that she'll spend in prison before I give you the motivation behind this particular attack. Because guess what? This woman did in fact attack the bus driver both before and after the crash. That's how insane she is.
26-year-old Raeven Johnson will serve 3 years behind bars and 3 years of extended supervision. According to a criminal complaint, video shows Johnson hitting the driver multiple times before that Metro bus crashed into a building on Madison's east side.
So yeah, the suspect in this particular case is called Raeven Johnson. First and foremost, obviously, that's so Raven. But secondly, look at the bus crash into this restaurant right here that, again, thankfully what we learned from the previous local news report was actually not open because it was Tuesday, and of course the bus ended up hitting the storage area of the restaurant, so the damage wasn't too terrible. But again, this woman ended up causing a bus crash by attacking a bus driver while it was in motion over one of the stupidest disputes ever. Now, of course, we're told that she'll spend 3 years in prison, have 3 years of supervised release. This is likely due to the fact that she pled guilty to these particular charges, but in reality, she should be in lockup far more often because, again, the thing that set this woman off, the thing that led her to nearly kill maybe everyone on that bus or seriously injure them is something that is so common, a mistake that many people make and should not result in you attacking anybody but yourself because you're the idiot who made the mistake.
2 people were hurt in that crash, and the restaurant Asian House and QPS employment were damaged. Conditions of her sentence include that she's banned from any Madison Metro property or bus, and she's not allowed to have alcohol.
Look, it seems appropriate that she would be banned from Madison Metro. Obviously, she caused a massive accident with Madison Metro. I also want to point out that in the image that they showed us from the courtroom, it looks like she's smiling just prior to hearing her sentence. And if that's true, if the judge wiped this woman's stupid smile off her face, perfectly fine. But again, we keep hearing about the assault. We keep hearing that there was a dispute. But what was the dispute about? Why do I have to go through so many local news segments to find out what made Raeven so angry, or if maybe this is a case of that being just so Raeven?
A dramatic, nearly 3-minute long video showing the reason why 26-year-old Raeven Johnson will spend 3 years behind bars.
So look, the full local news segments are linked in the description so you guys can keep up with this particular information, but as you can see right here in the video that I had to freeze frame, Raeven is actually grabbing onto the bus driver's collar from behind while the bus is in motion. Now, of course, I had to cut the video down because it is extremely violent, but she throws a haymaker at the driver again while the bus is in motion, making a turn that ultimately ended up causing this bus to smash into the side of the building. But again, we don't have a motivation for this particular attack. Maybe the bus driver was dropping N-bombs left and right. Maybe he said, if you don't actually come after me right now, I'm gonna kill everybody on this bus. And Raeven was acting incredibly heroic. Maybe Raeven actually found out that there was a bomb on the bus, and if the bus dropped below the speed of 88 miles per hour, everybody on the bus was gonna die, and she again was acting as a hero. Now, needless to say, none of that is the case. None of that is true. You're about to find out what her motivation is, and I'm just gonna say it to you guys, it is so unbelievably stupid, it is so ridiculous that it's kind of unfathomable, and if we didn't have the video, I'd still believe it because I know criminals are dumb, but many of you out there in the audience would not.
Prosecutors say Johnson got upset because the bus she walked onto in February wasn't going to her desired location. After a 90-second conversation with Johnson and the bus driver, you can see Johnson trying to pay, but the driver refuses the payment, not letting the card into the slot. Moments later, Johnson hit the bus driver, and then they have a struggle.
Yeah. That's it. That's the motivation. That is the reason why Raeven Johnson attacked a bus driver while the bus was in motion, causing it to crash into a restaurant. She got on a bus. Buses have pre-planned routes. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Oftentimes, when you get on a stop, this is how it works in New York. There's a map, and, you know, the map has all the stops. Well, this woman found out that this bus wasn't going to the stop that she wanted to go to, and rather than wait for the next bus, rather than take it as close as she wanted to get, if this was like a limited situation where it's only stopping every 5 stops, she ends up talking to the guy for about 90 seconds, basically telling him, you will stop at the stop that I need you to stop at. The guy says no, and then she's like, I'm paying, so you better do it. And then he's like, well, then don't pay because I'm not stopping at that particular stop. And then she immediately starts swinging at this individual.
What you're seeing is the first altercation, and it lasted for more than 20 seconds. Then the fight was interrupted when the bus driver lost control of the bus after making a right turn and eventually crashing into Asian House restaurant. That crash caused this damage to the restaurant on Madison's East Side on Dempsey Road.
Now, if you watch this particular video, one of the things that that you will see is that the bus driver is being attacked viciously by this woman, hit over and over again, and he's trying to defend himself. He actually manages to snatch this woman's weave mid-altercation, but you can see that the bus is in fact in motion, and this woman is still attacking him. In fact, after she loses her weave, she ends up getting even more angry, ends up striking him even harder, and then the bus starts barreling into the building. Now again, I've cut the video due to the fact that it contains violence, and YouTube will age restrict and suppress this video, which by the way, I ended up finding out suppresses your whole entire channel now. Great new feature, YouTube. If I get an age restriction, it not only affects the video that it's on, but every other video I produce for an indefinite amount of time. Insane in every possible way. But yeah, this woman is beating a bus driver while the bus is in motion in order to get it to go to a stop that she wanted. And unless the stop that she wanted was that Asian house restaurant, this was an absolutely terrible plan. But guess what? Even after the bus crashes, she decides that it's time for round 2.
After the crash, Johnson attacked the driver again for nearly 30 seconds. This is happening as the bus is crashed into the restaurant. Eventually, Johnson tries to leave the bus after attacking the driver twice, and then the driver tries to make a call before the video ends.
So look, you could see the Wisconsin snow blowing through the bus at the time that this actually occurred. So it's a cold night, it's a chilly night. I understand to a certain extent the frustration of getting on a bus inadvertently and realizing that you have to go back out in the cold. But remember, this woman's motivation, Raeven Johnson, this absolute idiot of a woman, was the fact that the bus wasn't stopping at the location that she wanted. So, of course, attacking the driver, I guess to physically force him to do so, might make sense if you're an absolute dumbass in every possible way, even though it definitely doesn't. But then, after the bus crashes into a wall, continuing to attack him based on your anger that the bus is not stopping where you want it to stop is obviously insane behavior. And I don't mean insane as in she shouldn't be held accountable for this. I mean insane as in insanely stupid. This woman is an idiot. She is unfit for society. She definitely doesn't belong here. And again, people could have died because of this. If this restaurant were open, if it wasn't a Tuesday, somebody could have been killed walking up to it. Again, assuming that it attracts a certain amount of business. I mean, somebody could have been killed even with the restaurant being closed, walking to a nearby location in the middle of the night. Not to mention you could have hit a car or all sorts of things that could have went wrong. If this guy wasn't turning right but turning left and he ended up turning into traffic, this would have been a disaster even more so than it actually was. And we're supposed to pretend that this woman is motivated by poverty, that she's had such a sad sack life that she had to do this. Insane, ridiculous. Throw the book at her. She should be in prison for 10 years over this. Obviously ban her from the bus, ban her from the road, ban her from society, put her on lockdown. I don't care what you have to do. This is not something that is uncommon that normal people don't deal with all the time. Again, anybody who's taken public transit has occasionally gotten on the wrong bus or the wrong train line, and the idea that the appropriate response isn't to get off the bus and wait for another one, but to attack somebody is just wild. But again, we're supposed to pretend like this is acceptable behavior, or this is logical behavior, or this is somehow the fault of systemic structures, systemic society. Oh my God, why isn't there so many more buses going in every direction at all times? Zohra Mamdani need to make the buses free, even though again the driver was trying to get her to not pay for this bus because he knew it wasn't going to that proper location or the location that she wanted it to go, and she still attacked him anyway.
This crash left 2 people hurt, one of them being the bus driver. And I spoke to the owner of that damaged restaurant, the Asian house, and she told me she did not want to go on camera, but she is leading with forgiveness and she wants to get back to her new normal.
So the local news lady says that she talked to the restaurant owner and the restaurant owner wants to lead with forgiveness. And honestly, this is the exact problem. There should be no forgiveness for this. This action has no logical basis behind it. It has no logical motivation. And the idea that we're just going to forgive everybody for their crazy, ridiculous, violent acts will teach them no good lessons, but to keep doing them. Again, this woman needs to be thrown in solitary confinement. I'm just kidding about that. It's a little bit abusive, but you know what? Something harsh needs to be leveled against her because this is maddening behavior. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. If you like this video, show them by leaving a like. Subscribe for more content. Follow me on my social media. Support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about a woman who is so entitled she attacked the bus driver for going on its pre-planned route. Till next time.